Um, until I click everything off, be very careful what you say.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. $15.
30.
It says duration 15 minutes.
Oh, it should be 30.
Doesn't it say that?
I put 30. Well, we're going to go for 30 minutes.
Okay, can you extend it?
Uh-huh.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds.
I just
4,
noticed that.
3, 2, 1. Log Talk Radio.
Hey, welcome to our show. We're at the Ohio State University South Centers in Piketon, Ohio. Actually, we are calling from Scioto County, one of the places where Brad Bergefurd visits and works with different individuals on the farming community. Brad is the horticultural specialist. He's had 23 years involved with working with the extension program at the Ohio State University. Brad, I want to welcome you.
Yes, good to be here, Pat.
You are the first. You are a pioneer.
Good.
We are not only on Blog Talk Radio, but we're also YouTubing this, so that way other individuals who have been unable to make the show will be able to view it at their leisure, and we found that works very well. We're going to be talking today from 11 to 11:30. In setting this up, be quite frank with you, we're sort of pioneering a little bit, and so if we have any glitches, we can always blame it on technology.
Yep, sure can. Sure can.
So Brad, tell the listening audience a little bit about who you are and what you do and things of that nature.
I think this is going to be great, Pat, that we can have this regular program to get the word out to all the consumers, the farmers, the gardeners, people out in our communities of how our horticulture programs that we have going on, our research and extension programs at the OSU South Centers and the OSU Extension Scioto County here in Portsmouth, how those can benefit people's lives by increasing their profitabilities, increasing their yields, helping with their gardens. And that's what we're hoping to talk about here on a regular basis.
Good.
I've been with OSU Extension and OARDC. OARDC is the research arm of the Ohio State University College of Agriculture, and that's where the South Centers comes in. It's the research farm up at Piketon, and it is both research as well as extension, half and half. So that's where OARDC comes in. That's where I started my career with Ohio State, was with OARDC, the research arm. And then I began my career with OSU Extension for a total of 23 years. I've been working with mainly horticultural producers, fruit and vegetable farmers, people exploring different specialty crop opportunities for their farms, their homes, their gardens, as well as the marketing aspects that go along with the sales of those types of commodities. So I just live, eat, and breathe and sleep fruit and vegetable crops, and that's what we're here to talk about today.
Well, yeah, it's my understanding you also grew up and live on a farm.
Yeah, I'm actually, my family's been growing fruit and vegetable crops for 4 generations, and today my family and I still have a small 40-acre fruit and vegetable farm. That's what my wife manages, and my children all work on the farm, and we grow just about every type of vegetable crop, from asparagus to zucchini, as well as strawberries, blackberries, and some blueberries. So yeah, when I leave work from helping people throughout the day with fruit and vegetable questions, I go home and work there all night for my wife.
Well, I'll be. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be?
I think so. Yeah.
I'll be quite frank with you. I like vegetables, but fruit I love.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're talking about a fruit that I remember as a child going out to fields and picking strawberries, and then my parents would can them or jar them or whatever you call that. And so strawberries have a tremendous amount of good memories for me.
Oh yeah, and a lot of other families.
And I noticed that on the strawberries, there's a lot of work that does go into.
Oh, there sure is.
And some of the things that we're going to be talking about is the marketing and the variety selection and the selecting of the sites, preparing the soils and planning and care and maintenance. As we begin, a couple of things. Why should individuals consider strawberries?
Well, no matter what size, whether it's a gardener or a commercial grower, strawberries are just good for our health. We've done a lot of research with our OSU James Cancer Hospital up at Ohio State, where they have actually taken our fruit from our research trials, our strawberry trials, our blackberry trials, our raspberry trials, and have done a lot of preliminary tests at OSU on cancer prevention. And what they found out is both the fruit as well as the seeds that are in those fruits help with cancer prevention. And so we've always known that, but strawberries, this research just backs it up that strawberries and other small fruits are just good for our health. And that's why there's a resurgence in interest on strawberry consumption by our consumers, because this research just backs up what we've always known since when you were picking strawberries with your parents in the fields. We knew they tasted good, but now this research coming out of the universities is even backing up the health benefits of our small fruit crops. And then when we're looking at specialty crops, in particular fruits and vegetables, we have a lot of growers, especially in Scioto County and here in the southern part of the state, that are looking to grow high-value crops that can give them the most income per square foot, really. We're not even really talking acres, but the most income they can generate from their small family farms on a per square foot basis. And that's why commercial growers are interested in a strawberry crop, because when you look at a per square foot basis, this is one of the crops that can generate the most income for our growers as well as our gardeners.
Well, that is very, very true. About the fields. The thing that I noticed, though, when I was growing up, you could only get one crop of strawberries per year.
Correct.
And I'm not sure. Have they done some additional work that you can get more?
Yeah, and that's what we're going to talk about a lot today. Our research that we've been performing on strawberries up at the OSU South Centers of Piketon, going back to about 2000, has been looking at just that opportunity to increase our harvest season and the length of our harvest season. Because as we know, we like to eat strawberries year round, but with our climate and our weather here in southern Ohio, we just don't have the old traditional way of growing strawberries. We can only harvest once a year, like you said, about a month at tops. That's why they're called June-bearing strawberries, because you got the month of June and that's it. With the research we've been performing at Piketon since 2000, we now can lengthen that strawberry harvest season almost a month earlier. Last year at this time we were already harvesting strawberries, but really we started around the 1st to the middle of May, and with some other production techniques we can go right up into October, November with strawberry harvest. So yeah, we've performed a lot of research at our research farm at Piketon, looking for ways to extend that harvest season. Plus, if a grower can extend that harvest season, what's that mean? That means more income for the farmer. Rather than just those 3 or 4 weeks of June, they can now harvest and have a strawberry income for 3 or 4 months out of the season.
Well, it's my understanding also that you're involved with some kind of plasticulture growing.
Yes.
And
that is one of the techniques that we began researching back in 2000, just to extend that strawberry harvest season. And we call it strawberry plasticulture. It was a technique that was pretty well common in Florida, in California, but we've never looked at it here in the Midwest. Even our growers in Carolinas, North and South Carolina, it's a pretty popular production technique for our growers there. So working with the university folks, Dr. Barclay Poling in particular was a university researcher at North Carolina State that I became good friends with and a good research partner with on taking the research that they had been performing in the Carolinas and looking to see how it can be adapted for our southern Ohio conditions. So that's what we call plasticulture strawberry, and it is. It's a totally different technique. It's not that June system that you used to pick with your family, Patrick. It's a system that we plant the plants in the fall on a bed, raised bed, covered with black plastic, so that's where the plastic comes in. The black plastic helps absorbs the heat into the bed to allow that crop to be grown throughout the winter months. Plus that plastic mulch acts as a weed barrier, so we can reduce or almost even eliminate in some cases the use of herbicides right in that bed. So that's what we call plasticulture, and by growing that technique we can begin our harvest season almost a month earlier. And then when we use different varieties, which we've been performing variety research as well, we can actually extend that plasticulture strawberry harvest season well into the summer months, which, as you know, we never used to be able to have strawberries in the heat of the summer, in July, August, September. With some of these new varieties that we've been researching, in addition to the plasticulture system, we now can harvest these summer-bearing strawberry varieties throughout the summer months, and that's what we're looking at. We're looking to perfect that growing system for our growers can make the most benefit economically by growing those crops.
You should have a workshop on this.
We are having a workshop. Glad you brought that up, Patrick. We're having one every year. We have a strawberry field night. And with the research that we've been doing since 2000, we're actually going to extend that field night to have be a mini workshop on May 16th at our OSU South Center's research farm at Piketon, beginning at 6 in the evening. So those that do work off the farm or have day jobs, they can still come after work. And we're going to go from 6 to 9. We're going to spend about an hour or so in the classroom. This is a hands-on training, so we're not going to be spending a lot of classroom time, but we're going to be spending some classroom time just going over what we have learned and teaching the growers what we have learned that they can use in their field. And then after the classroom training, we're going to head out to our research fields so they get some hands-on training, can actually see this technique in the field.
I know that some of the programs, there's a small fee to sort of pay for whatever the training educational expenses are. Is there any fees attached?
Yeah, this one's only going to be $5, and you can eat that much in cookies and pop.
Wow.
And
strawberries.
And strawberries. We hope to have strawberries, and it's looking pretty good. The strawberry crop is in just beginning. It's a bloom time right now, and it takes 30 days from the time you get a bloom to harvest. So I think last week we started bloom, so we should have some strawberries for that May 16th. And then we'll also have a lot of handouts that will go over the production techniques we're going to cover that evening. So there's going to be a lot of information that those that want to participate on May 16th, it's a Thursday night at our OSU South Centers on 1864 Shivo Road at Piketon, can come and learn an evening on how to extend the strawberry growing season.
Well, let's talk a little bit. Suppose I decide I want to, in my backyard, I have like a 12 by 20 plot. In which I was going to grow weeds this year.
Okay.
Let's just suppose I wanted
Strawberries taste a little bit.
That's what I understand. Suppose I were to put a 12 by 20. How many plants can I plant, and how many bushels can I expect?
Well, first, Patrick, we don't put our strawberries in bushels because, 60-pound bushel of strawberries may be juicing by the time you get done. So we actually pick our strawberries in quarts, and we measure how many pounds that we can get off of that plant.
I see.
But in a 12 by 20, we got to give a little bit of room to work that garden. So if it's 12 foot wide, we're going to have about 2 beds of strawberries. And if it's 20 foot long, we'll have 2 rows on top of each bed, so that's about 50 plants per row. So altogether, you could have 100. You could have 100 plants in that 12 by 20 garden space.
90 seconds.
And right now, we can almost guarantee you're going to get a pint per plant. That's no problem. But we have produced over a quart per plant. So you could potentially be producing 100 quarts of strawberries, Patrick, off of that little piece.
So let's just suppose I have 100 quarts, and my wife and I can only eat so many strawberries. And so we wanted to sell some of those. Where would we? How would we sell them?
We have lots of great marketing opportunities for small gardeners like you. We would call you a market gardener because you just have a garden that you want to take some of the production to market. But we have farmers markets right here in Portsmouth. We have two great farmers markets. One on, I do believe, Tuesday mornings, and the other one's on Saturday mornings. And they're always looking for new farmers, new market gardeners to sell their product at. And then there's also a lot of markets throughout Ohio. Christy Welch is our farmers market specialist at the OSU
Christy.
South Centers. Yep. And she has a great listing of all market opportunities that growers could have to sell their strawberries.
I will let you know that we're going to continue for another 15 minutes, etc. So just continue staying, listening, and watching on the YouTube.
Okay.
So in essence, in selling those at farmers market, do I have to pay something to the farmers market?
Some you don't. Some it's just a very small fee, like $5 or $10 for the day. So it's not a huge fee to sell at these markets. But you know, Patrick, like you said, your parents did. You can also freeze and can those strawberries for use throughout the season for your own family and in your own eating, in your own diet.
I don't know if my wife knows how to can.
Well, you could do it for her. So, but that's one thing we'd encourage somebody that has a small garden like yourself to, preserve those to be used throughout the seasons and throughout the winter months, and you can taste that homegrown goodness throughout the year.
Oh, very good.
But for your planting, first you'd have to start. I don't know if you've been gardening that planting or not, but first you'll have to go and get that soil tested and see what that soil is like, because not all soils are good for strawberries. We have to actually do a lab analysis of the soil to see if the acidity levels are right, if the nutrient levels are right.
That sounds like a lot of money, though.
It's really not too bad. Here in Scioto County and just about every extension office in the state, you can actually take your soil samples into the county extension office, and they will send in those soil samples to a lab to have them analyzed, and then the results will come back usually within 24 hours of the lab receiving your samples. And then people like myself or the county educator can look at those soil test results, and then you, for example, I can give you a fertilizer recommendation from that soil test analysis for you can get started on the right foot, because if you just plant strawberries and you don't have your soil right, it could be a waste of your time and investment of those plants.
So would I have to go into the garden and just a shovel full of dirt?
Yeah, somewhere take a nice sample throughout the garden, a nice representative sample, and you go down about 4 inches or so, the nice plow layer we call it, and then put that all in a bucket, bring it into the extension office. We only send off about a pint, but you need a lot to get that pint sample. And then once you get those, we can get your soil up and get into shape well before we want to plant. We don't want to do this 1 week before planting, Patrick. We'd like to maybe get that soil test done in the fall, for we have some time to change the nutrient levels and the acidity
Isn't soil
levels.
just soil?
No, all soils are different, Patrick. Yeah, so that's why we need a soil test.
Well,
Don't
see,
guess soil tests.
See, I'm a city person, and I've been out to the research center, the different plants and things of that nature, and I've listened to you at some of the workshops and things of that nature, and it looks easy to do.
Yes, we can make it look easy, but it's really you have to be organized and do this work well in advance in order to be a very productive grower and to make it worth your while. Too many times, even gardeners will plant their garden and it doesn't produce well, and the quality of the fruit isn't good, and then they get discouraged. And if you do some prior planning, you can be a successful strawberry grower.
So I should have my wife come to the workshop.
Oh, sure, yeah, we welcome to have her.
Because
we know she's the worker of the family, unlike
that's right.
yourself.
When it comes to the
but then once we get the soils all ready to go, then we have to choose on some varieties, and we will cover variety recommendations at the workshop. on the 16th, but there's early season varieties, mid-season varieties, late season varieties, and then these summer bearing varieties that we talked about. So we can actually begin harvest in May and harvest right up to the 1st of November if we choose the right varieties.
Hey, and I noticed that when we go to like some of the different grocery stores, you know, they have different strawberries. Do they acquire them from here, or?
Yeah, I have lots of growers that'll sell to the big chain grocery stores. They sell to farmers markets. They sell, you know, to the small independent groceries. Majority of those you see, though, because of the seasonality of Ohio strawberries, which we're working on changing. A lot of those come from Florida and California for the big chain stores, but we have lots of growers that are selling into those markets.
Now, what about the insects and the pests? What should be done about them?
We do want to use integrated pest management techniques. We call those IPM techniques, where we're actually in the field or in the garden looking very close for early outbreaks of pest and disease. And it's easier to control early outbreaks than after they've really become a heavy infestation. A lot of that comes down to locating the site for the strawberry planting as well. We don't want to be in a wet area. Strawberries don't like to have wet root systems because it can bring on diseases. So just by locating that strawberry crop in an area that is not prone to flooding, does not lay real wet, we can eliminate a lot of those diseases in our strawberry garden just by choosing the right site.
So what about then the do we have to get like what do you call it? Not organic pesticides? Do we have to?
If we do everything right, most times we don't have to use pesticides. And like this year, the only outbreak we're really seeing in our strawberry fields is some aphid infestations, and aphids are easily controlled with a insecticidal soap application, which is just soap like you use to clean your dishes with. But there's actually insecticidal soaps labeled for that. The ones on your dishes aren't quite labeled, but we can actually buy a similar type of product that's labeled for aphid control, and it's very safe. It's an organic type of a control. So really, if we do things right, we can control our crops from disease and insect pests just by monitoring and good site selection and locating those plants in the right location.
Very good. Hey, and just out of curiosity, strawberries, suppose I only wanted half of my garden to be on strawberries. What would you recommend the other half be?
Well, whatever you like to eat, Patrick. If you don't like radishes, then don't plant radishes. But you can grow just about any other fruit or vegetable crop right next to strawberries. It really doesn't matter. Give a little space between them. You don't want to go right up close to them because it's just ease of management. But you can grow just about any other fruit and vegetable crop in that other part of the garden.
I would assume that when I plant them, when would be a good time to plant for May, June?
For the June-bearing varieties, we would be planting them now, but we don't get a crop until next year. It takes a whole year from planting till we can harvest to get a strawberry crop. Where the plasticulture system, we actually plant that in the fall, in September, and we will harvest them here in May and June. So get a little quicker turnaround on your investment.
Doesn't the cold and the frost hurt?
No, we do, though, because we have cold and frost, we do have to protect those crops. And that's what we're going to go over at the workshop, some winter protection techniques that we have researched and that give us that winter protection of our strawberry crop. So yes, we do have to protect them through the winter months, but there's certain techniques we will follow, such as floating row covers. We can use straw to straw the crop in certain varieties. So there are some winter protection techniques which we will be covering at the workshop on the 16th.
Well, I know that on the in Florida, what they do is if there's a frost, they freeze the fruit.
Yes, and we do that here in Ohio as well. Yes. It goes back to your site selection. You don't want to plant strawberries in an area that's prone to frost, that the frost always flows downhill, and we don't want to have that. But if we do have a frost event like we did this past weekend, we will use floating row covers, which are freeze blankets. We can pull those over the field. But then we also can use sprinkler irrigation. believe it or not, Patrick, when water is freezing, it releases heat. So by constantly irrigating that crop and always forming ice on top of it, it's releasing heat, just a couple degrees of heat, which is keeping it just above freezing. And therefore, we can protect our crop by putting a layer of ice on it. We don't want to shut the water off, though. If the water would shut off, say we'd have an irrigation pump or something quit, and then it'd freeze really solid, then we could lose the whole crop. But if we constantly keep freezing water, we actually generate heat.
So that's something though you don't want to tell my wife. If it's like 20 degrees out, you don't want her spraying.
No, unless you want to protect your strawberry crop. Yes,
Oh,
and
okay.
it usually is done
Right.
throughout the early morning hours. That's when frost usually come in, is in the early morning hours. So you'd have to be putting water on in the cold of the morning, Patrick.
I know we covered a number of things and we only have a couple minutes left. Is there something else that you want to talk about with strawberries that the listening audience needs to be aware of? Like for instance, in southern Ohio, we might have a certain kind of strawberry that in northern Michigan might have different. I don't know.
That's what we're looking at. We do have some varieties, due to our research, that perform better down south here than they do up by the Lake Erie shore. So we continuously are looking for new varieties that perform well for our region as well as the whole state. But really, strawberries aren't that bad of a crop to produce. They're good to eat. They're good for our health and our diet. And you can take that little 12 by 20 backyard plot, as long as you have sun, as long as it's not standing in water, and as long as you have that soil fertility built back up, you can produce a good, very high quality, good tasting strawberry crop just off of that small piece of ground. And we'd like to educate anybody that's interested in producing strawberries. Give me a call at the Scioto County Extension Office or come to our workshop on May 16th, and you can go home with knowing how to grow strawberries.
So how can they get in touch with you, Brett?
To sign up, we do require some pre-registration for the workshop on the 16th, and if you just want to give us a call at the South Centers at 740-289-2071 and speak with Carissa. She's with extension 132,
So
and
that's
she's taken
740-289-2071.
and talk to
Clarissa.
Carissa at extension 132, and she will make sure you're registered, because we only have so many seats available for the workshop. We've been selling out our workshops. Every month we have some type of a training session on horticulture,
Oh,
and
that's
this month it
fantastic.
happens to be strawberries. So,
That is
or you can give me a
fantastic.
call at that same number, and we'd be happy to help you out with growing strawberries.
Very good. Now, one final question, and I know this is going to sound like a stupid question. Where do you get the seeds? Do you have to get a strawberry and scrape off the seeds? How do you do that?
Actually, Patrick, most of our strawberries we plant from plants, but those plants have to be started from seeds. And so most of our breeders will actually take, if you look at a strawberry, all the little white dots on a strawberry, those are strawberry
Yep.
seeds, very small. So our strawberry breeders will breed the perfect strawberry that their objectives are for the research program, collect those seeds, plant those seeds, grow them in the plants, and then those are set into nurseries. And that's where we come in. We will
I see.
buy plants from those nurseries, and then that's how we grow our strawberries. We don't
Oh, okay.
plant seeds to the field. We use plants.
So I would go to a nursery.
You can
and-
go to a nursery. There's nurseries in Ohio, in California, in Michigan. We do have lists of nurseries
Okay.
that we have worked with and
Alright.
that our growers have worked with, so
Okay.
we can help get people lined up with
Okay.
a good strawberry nursery to buy plants from.
Oh, very good. So again, it's 740-289-2071, and talk with Carissa.
Carissa, we'll
Ah,
get everybody
very good.
registered for the strawberry
Very
workshop.
good. Brad, I want to thank you very much for talking about strawberries. I know that in weeks to come, you're going to be talking about other kinds of fruits and vegetables,
Yes.
etc. Anything on tap for our next show?
Probably coming up will be some vegetable crop opportunities that our Scioto County and Southern Ohio growers, the opportunities they have to grow certain types of vegetables. And some vegetable crops can be grown in almost 20 days from planting to harvest, and we'll talk about that one on the next
Wow.
show.
Well, that sounds great. Brad Bergefurd, horticultural specialist with the Ohio State University South Centers. He's an extension educator. Brad, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
You are,
it's been great.
Filled with knowledge, and May the 16th, Thursday from 6 to 9, you can hear Brad give a really good description about strawberry plasticulture workshop. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Brad.
Thank you for listening, and have a great day.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio.